All right, good afternoon, everyone. Looks like we have enough people online and in person to kick off. We'll kick off right at 1:30. So first off, I'd like to recognize that we're conducting our business primarily on the territories of the Hupatchisitt and the Tashant First Nations to recognize, affirm, and appreciate that fact. And with that in mind, I would state that we are conducting our business in a hybrid format as well. So we have people here in the boardroom as well as online. As a result of that, we'll have folks coming to you from the territories of other First Nations. Feel free to identify them if you like, and we can kick off. So we'll do a round of introductions here. But before we do that, I'll say that we do have, well, actually, we don't have anybody in the gallery except for folks who are going to make a presentation. But if there's anybody online, if there are any questions that need to be asked through the online format, we do not monitor the chat that is on the Zoom. We do monitor the Q&A format that is on the Zoom that we pre-registered, but we don't monitor the chat on YouTube, and that's how we're broadcasting live. It's either on YouTube itself or embedded on the website. You can send an email to responses@acrd.bc.ca if you like, and we'll check that at the end of the day. So with that in mind, we'll do a round of introductions. We'll start to my left. We'll start with Daniel, and we'll go up. Thanks.
Good afternoon. I'm Daniel Sayan, the CAO for the ACRD.
Good afternoon, everyone. Chama Mariah Coots. I am the representative for the Hochelaga Tribe government.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Sparrow. I represent Cherry Creek.
Good afternoon. I'm Rennie LaCourcier. I'm the alternate for Sprout Lake.
Hi, everyone. Debbie Haggard, Councilor for the City of Port Alberni and Vice Chair of the Board of Directors.
Good afternoon, Cynthia Dick, General Manager of Administrative Services.
And good afternoon, Alex Dyer, Planning Manager.
Good afternoon, Jenny Brown, General Manager of Community Services.
Good afternoon, Terry Fong, Chief Financial Officer.
And online, we have Director McEwen.
Good afternoon, Marilyn McEwen, Mayor of Ucluelet, coming to you from the traditional territory of the Ucluelet.
Thank you. Dr. Siga.
Ada Siga, Director for Area C, coming from the territory of the Ucluelet and Towhat.
Dr. Beckett.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bob Beckett, representing Banfield Area A.
Thank you. Dr. Roth.
Good afternoon, everyone. Susan Roth for Beaver Creek.
Dr. Boyko.
Fred Boyko, Electoral Area Director for Beaufort.
Dr. Mastrangelo.
Good afternoon, Ravana Mastrangelo from the First Nation. Yes, please.
Oh, there we go. Dr. Johnson, please go ahead. She's just connecting. Dr. Johnson, are you able to introduce yourself? All right, it might take a bit of time. I'm John Jack. I'm the director for the Great First Nations and the chairperson. And so we can move into the approval of the agenda. We have a few modifications to the agenda that we'd like to put forward. Director LaCourcier had asked that we put on the agenda a motion to be contemplating apportionment methods as well as steps involved in potentially withdrawing from service. I think that will be a larger conversation than just transit, so I'd like to make that a light item just in case other discussions come up, but that'll be on the agenda. And since we do have representatives from transit here, I was wondering, once we get to decisions, a request for decisions under 8, if we can skip right to 8C first in the event that there are any questions that they'd be able to answer, then that could maximize our time. So that would be the agenda as amended. We would just skip to item 8C, and then once that was completed, we go back to 8A and B and go from there. And you can take bets as whether or not I try to do 8C twice. So that'll be mine. Any further comments? Are we okay to move the agenda as amended? Thank you, Dr. Coots. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Haggard. Any further comments? Okay, oh, there's Director Johnson. Director Johnson, do you want to quickly introduce yourself?
Afternoon, Gerson Johnson, Director for the Toquat Nation. Sorry, I'm late.
No worries, great, and thank you. That brings us to the end of item. Oh, no, I have to ask you to vote. All those in favor of adopting the agenda? All opposed? Motion carried, thank you. Sorry, we do things by consensus and HUAD, and it sometimes temporarily confuses me. We get to item 3, which is declarations. Does anyone have any conflicts of interest or gifts exceeding $250 value? Dr. Haggard?
Mr. Chair, on item 9(1)H, Franker under planning matters, I like to recuse myself because I've recused myself the last time on the agenda, and I like to be consistent. And the reason is the personal relationship I have with the family.
All right, thank you. And Dr. Sparrow?
I would like to vote for 9F.
91F. Thank you. Made note. Okay, we'll move into the adoption of minutes. First item is item 4A, the Board of Directors meeting minutes for June 11th, 2025. Move adoption. Thank you, Director Sparrow. Do we have a second? Dr. Haggard, thank you. Does anyone have any errors, omissions, deletions, etc.? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. All right, next up is the Electoral Area Directors Committee meeting dated June 18th, 2025. Anyone like to move adoption? Thank you, Dr. Sparrow. Seconded by anyone? Thank you, Dr. Coots. Okay. Any further comment? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to item C, which is Beaver Creek Water Advisory Committee meeting dated June 19th, 2025. Move adoption. Anyone? Oh. Dr. Law, thank you. Seconded by Director Siga. Any further comments? None. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. And finally, item D, the Alberni Valley and Banfield Service Committee meeting dated June 19th, 2025.
Move to adopt.
Thank you, Director Haggard. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Sparrow. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Alrighty, that brings us to petitions, delegations, and presentations. Usually we have a 10-minute maximum for our presentations. If we get close to that, I will warn you with fingers. If we get too far over the line, I'll just interrupt and ask the board if we can continue, unless I think you're pretty close to the end, and we'll just move on to the end. 10 minutes does not include discussion after the presentation, so don't feel too rushed. And I'd like to welcome Mr. Adam Bishop, Manager of Accessible Transit for BC Transit. Thank you and welcome. Share the screen, set everything up, and all good.
Mr. Chair, Commissioners, thank you for having me today. Screen set here. And I will do my best to keep us on time. If I can just get, we should be able to see my presentation. If we can get a confirmation, looks like it's up on the screen.
Yep,
there we can see it. Wonderful. So, as mentioned, my name is Adam Bishop. I am the Manager of Accessible Transit at BC Transit. That sounds great. What does that mean? My purview in our organization is to have oversight on our custom transit services across the province, commonly referred to as HandyDART as its branded name. I'm not involved in the day-to-day operations in the 28 communities that HandyDART services offered. We leave that operation to operating partners, regional districts. And then we have a regional operations team that manages that relationship and is there to help resolve or work through any challenges that may come up. My role is to be the next layer up from that, dealing with any escalated issues that we think may become more of a trend across the province. to become involved and provide policy or subject matter expertise around specific local issues that may occur. And most importantly, to be responsible for envisioning what the service will look like in the future. We are in a time as we start to see our understanding of disability expand across the province, as well as our demographic shifts across the province. We are in a time where the service requires transformation and modernization. And so that is my role. That is predominantly my area of focus, is imagining and putting things in place to ensure that the service is viable in the future, serving the needs of the clients who need it the most. So why I am here to talk to you today, so to advance here, is to talk about custom transit service and its impacts on rural communities, because I think the impact of what we refer to as custom, what is commonly known as paratransit across the transit industry, is magnified in rural communities. So I want to speak to that today, given the service area that your service encompasses. I also would like to speak about one of the major things that I am working on that we refer to as the custom transit solution, and that really is the modernization of the service. And so the project that we're working towards on that, why it matters, what it is, and also to share where we're at and the impact that it'll have on your local service when we move to implement. And then end things off with a quick discussion on the broader strategy that I have around custom transit over the next 5 or so years, of which the solution plays a major part in. And I also want to make sure that I am seen so that you know me, and you know that you as a board can reach out to either Seth, my colleague Seth, or myself with questions or thoughts that you may have. I think the other thing that is really important to acknowledge, and those of you on camera will be able to see this too, is this service and transit as a whole is something that is very personal to me. So as those of you in the room here will have seen, I wheeled into the room today. I'm a little hard to miss in an orange wheelchair, and that's on purpose. And so I've been with transit for 5 years. I've had a 15-year career in the kind of the HR and legal world, but I've always done accessibility advocacy, and I've never wanted those two things to be intertwined until I took this role a year and a half ago. And the reason I took this role is because I could see the shift that needed to occur in transit service around accessibility, and particularly around custom transit. And so I was challenged to take that role and really use the perspective that I bring as not only a user or an individual with a disability, but also all the other tools that I have in my toolkit around the work that I've done. And so that's what really brings me here today. And just to say that as we look to modernize the service, it's not something that I can personally fail in as a result of the personal tie to the service itself. So that is just so that you understand where I'm coming from when we have this conversation. And so to dive in, why does custom transit matter? In 10 minutes or less to have that conversation, we'll keep it high level. But in rural communities, the importance of custom transit is magnified because it does allow individuals to age in place. So when you think about even in the community that I live in, which is rural, the connection that HandyDART plays is allowing individuals and families to stay in their homes, to stay in their communities, and it allows them to access the services that they need in order to be able to do that. And when you think about the strains that our healthcare system is under, the challenges that individuals with disabilities face, being able to remain in their communities and still have services or connections to their communities is of the utmost importance when you look at health outcomes, when you look at longevities, when you look at communities itself and those roles that those individuals often play in their communities. I think one of the other things to just call out and to dispel, because often it's a misunderstanding of who HandyDART is for, who custom transit is for. So I'll bring us back to the BC Transit Act, and we'll actually talk about the definition of custom transit. So custom transit is a service that you need to be eligible for. And it's not based on age, when that is often a misconception that, oh, once you turn 75, 80, whatever it may be, you're automatically eligible for custom transit. That isn't true. Custom transit is needs-based, and it is based on the determination of somebody having a disability, either permanent or temporary, that is significant enough that it limits their ability to safely and effectively use the fixed route service without assistance. And so when you really drill that down to what does that mean, it really comes down to an individual's functional ability to use the transit service. And why is that important? That's important because custom service is more white glove. That is the kind of the term that I would use than our fixed route service. So our fixed route service is point to point. That's why we have routes, the fixed route bus stops, those sorts of things. Custom service is intended to be door to door. So when you think about that and you go, well, why? And it's because the barriers that an individual may have to utilizing transit service may require them to have support getting from their pickup destination, so to speak, to the bus, and then off the bus to wherever they're going. So I'll give you a very brief example of that, bringing it back to me. So I am a eligible HandyDart user. And people look at that and they go, and they realize that I'm a borderline case for that, because I am functionally more or less able to use the fixed route service. If I can get on the bus is accessible enough for me to be able to take my ride to wherever I'm going. I have the cognitive ability to understand what stop I'm going to, so on and so forth. The challenge is when I get off the bus or trying to get to the bus, because the actual bus trip is only a part of that equation. It's also about the infrastructure, the stops, those sorts of things. So I'm not able to use the fixed route service if I don't know if my stop is quote unquote accessible. And that varies from community to community, stop to stop. So again, just to frame the benefits of that custom service is really, it allows that tied to community, the ability to age in place. Often custom service in situations where individuals live in rural or less urban centers, such as myself, really can be the only tie that they may have to family, friends, community, those sorts of things. So with that in mind, the next thing that I'd like to talk about is when all of you think of the custom service, you know it well, you go, you've got to call in, pre-book your rides, so on and so forth. There's a lot of reason for that. Some of that is due to not only making sure that the fleet is available to deliver the trip, but it's also to ensure the passenger mix, because again, as our understanding of disability has expanded, disability has become more complex. So the reality is somebody like myself is the easy person to dispatch for. I take up a wheelchair spot, you know, I'm able to get myself around. It's very easy. Somebody that has dementia while crippling, and I have dementia in my family, easy to dispatch for, plan for. Where it gets really challenging is we're now starting to see individuals with high anxiety disorders or other cognitive barriers. As an example, I'll use myself and my colleague Seth. So I'm in a chair, easy to dispatch for. Doesn't look like there's much going on with me other than that. Seth has dementia, fair enough. But what may not be seen is that I also have a high anxiety disorder. That means if I'm on the bus with, I'm going to be really kind to Seth here and say, a 25-year-old male, if I'm on the bus for longer than 20 minutes, I may take my shoe off and start trying to hit him over the head because of whatever barrier that I have. And we chuckle at that a little bit, but that is the reality of this service. And as our understanding of disability grows, these are the different types of things that we have to consider when creating our daily runs and our daily service. So one of the things that I'm working on is an end-to-end transformational solution aimed at modernizing the service. What does that mean? At its core, it's dispatch capabilities and the ability to use technology to better match rides to people and all their needs. But at the other side of it, and the really powerful piece, is not only increasing communication with the clients in the service so they understand what is happening, when their rides are coming, when their families can understand and receive notifications on ETAs, pickups, where people are, those sorts of things. But also built into these systems is optimization technology that will increase the efficiency of the service. And why does that matter? Cost. That's rides per hour, cost per trip, those sorts of things. As the service is expanded, a human can only do that so well, right? A computer and these technologies that we have can do that much better. And then the human can sit back and resolve differences or challenges that they see. So I'm working to roll that out across the whole province. It's why I can't roll it out tomorrow. I wish I could. The other big piece that it'll provide myself in terms of modernizing the service and yourself as a local government partner is access to, and I'm not even going to use the word data because data is meaningless without insights. It's access to insights on the performance of your system to better inform your expansion and optimization requests, which ultimately come through you to Seth, to me, to take a look at and really help you guys make those recommendations. And this technology and this solution will give us the hard insights to go, what does your system actually need, both today and in the future? So then the next question is going, okay, that sounds great, but what about this strategy that you want to talk, that you mentioned about? And I recognize we're getting close to time, so I will wrap this up. So last year, we completed a strategy that resulted in 13 recommendations. You can see them on the screen. This past year has really been about us as an organization, considering my role is so new in reimagining the custom transit service, really understanding it through having meetings with our operating partners and our local government partners, such as yourself, to understand the needs, the pain points, those sorts of things. This year is really about action. And so you can see on the slide here, there is one that we have checked off. That was a relatively low hanging fruit, just increasing collaboration between two different operating partners. And then you can see a number that are in progress there. So there's the increasing the in-house knowledge of custom transit service delivery. That's through my team meeting with boards such as yourself, as well as our operating partners, and then elevating the profile of custom transit with the provincial government as well, in terms of understanding the program and what it does. The other key focuses for me really are developing key service metrics and KPIs so that I can benchmark how our different systems, including yours, are performing, so that there's performance consistent across the province. And then also benchmarking it against the new solution that we're going to bring in so that I can come back to you and report on the improvements, the increased efficiency, the lower costs, so on and so forth. And then the final one, again, is what we called at the time, the dispatch technology, which is now the custom transit solution. And that is where my major focus will be over the next year. I think one of the final things that I'll just leave you with is that custom transit solution we are looking to begin a phased implementation across the province in 2026, where we're just in the process of entering contract negotiations with a vendor through a procurement process. And then the final piece, as you think about your own communities that I'll leave you with. So by 2031, over 1.3 million people will be over the age of 65. You've just heard me talk about how custom transit service isn't age related. So you're going, okay, Adam, why are you telling me about demographic data at this point? And the reason I tell you that is because I want you to layer that over the fact that 20.5% of people in British Columbia between the ages of 15 and 65 identify as having a disability. So remember the needs-based portion of custom transit service. Here's where it gets really interesting. Over the age of 65, that percentage jumps up to over 40%. So think about all of those people as individuals who may access this service in the future. And then the final piece that I'll talk about is, so, okay, you talk about an age demographic currently of over 65 that may or may not be comfortable with technology. So why are you implementing a technology solution that people will then have to learn? And what I would tell you is when you think about this demographic that's coming, technology is the expectation, not the nice to have. For somebody like me with a disability, technology is the great equalizer. It's what's equal the playing field to allow me to do what I do. So when those people start to need to use this service and want to remain into their communities, they're going to want to be able to book rides on their own. They're going to want to be able to go online and see where their bus is. They're going to want to receive notifications of where their bus is, the ETAs, let alone if they're living in an assisted living facility, a care home, or with somebody where somebody else is doing all that work for them when we think about safety. So this is actually my favorite slide that I use in any presentation that I do. And so thank you for your time today. And I would just open it up for any questions. Otherwise, I will let you get on with the rest of your meeting.
Okay, thank you for your presentation. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Dr. Haggard and then Director Boyko.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much for coming in today. I think this would be a great presentation for our disability committee. I think this would be very interesting and relevant to what they're doing, and it's very important. So maybe somebody from staff could get hold of you and let you know some dates when it meets, and just come in online and just do the presentation. I think it would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'd be happy to do that. I lead BC Transit's accessibility committee and accessibility efforts. So happy to come in and have that conversation.
Thank you. Director Boyko.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Do we have any statistics on how often these vehicles are driving around empty and efficiencies? The reason I'm asking is we have one area in our area that I represent that has 0 users of the HandyDART system. So I ask in meetings, does people know about this? The answer is yes, but they all have alternative means set up to do what they need to do because we are fairly remote.
Mm-hmm.
So I know you're working on optimization. Are you going to look at combining trips and things like that to improve efficiencies and vehicle fullness, however you want to say that? That's
Sure.
just kind of my questions. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner. And so the short answer to that is yes. So I didn't bring those numbers with me today because I wanted to keep this conversation around the intention behind the service. But I absolutely can get you those. And the answer is that at its core, when you think about the dispatch part of this solution, that is exactly what it is going to do, is more, and this is where you see the human brain, for lack of a better word, when you think about how large your service area is, only be able to do so much when it comes to the optimization, which is why you may see an empty bus. That may be one reason. The other reason that you may see that is based on the trips that come in on that day and also the needs of those passengers, right? So when we talk about, it's not just about the bus and the route the bus is taking, it's the individuals that are utilizing the service that day and the mix that they can have. But yes, one of the core tenets of the technology is about increasing that efficiency, increasing what we call rides per hour, and decreasing the cost per trip. Based on that, I think there's a sweet spot too, which is why we set those service standards, because particularly in this type of environment, your bus starts to get too full, you're going to start hearing about it from a complaints perspective. So there's always, with every system that we're in, it's about finding that balance between how do we increase the efficiency of the service while keeping those complaints low, where those individuals who have a lot more of those high touch needs, whatever they may be, are still safe and secure.
Thank you. Are there any other comments or questions? I have one in regards to, are there any reports either by BC Transit or other organizations that have that link between the value of having services like this and the ability to age in place? One thing that I am finding is that a lot of homeowners who are aging are not, they're not downsizing as often as they used to. And the one thing that I took away from some of the 3-stream rejections was that they didn't want to lug a big bin up a driveway because they're aging. That presents some problems for mobility in the future as well. And so that might present some problems with driving as well. So it seems like HandyDART is something that can help provide for people to stay in place as well. Is there information that dives deeper into the value proposition, for lack of a better word?
For sure.
For that?
Yeah. So thank you for that question. And how I would answer that is I think I can go to the Canadian Urban Transit Authority, so CUDA, and they have some incredible research that they do around this sort of thing. And I can bring that back to the committee or send it along because the value proposition is there. Again, at my fingertips in this moment, no, but the answer to, I don't have it at my fingertips, but the answer to that is yes. So I'd be happy to go back and investigate that and either come back for a further conversation or send it on.
Yeah, there's just a connection between demographic shifts and the types of services that will be necessary. Just
Absolutely.
thinking other communities that are in the same situation.
For sure.
Are there any other comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, I'd like to thank you for your presentation. I'd like you both to stick around because we're going to go right to a transit related decision, if that's all good, and then we'll go into it. We have a couple of correspondence items to go through, so it should take a few minutes, but yeah. All right, thanks.
Happy to.
Okay, so our next item is technically item 6, but we don't have any correspondence for action. Item 7 is correspondence for information. We have what looks to be 6 items. Would anyone like to pull anything out? And if not, we could have a motion to receive the items. Dr. Haggard?
I'd like to make a motion, the Board of Directors receive items A through F for information.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Coots. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, so that brings us to item 8, which is request for decisions and bylaws. Just to take advantage of transit folks being here, we're going to skip right to 8C. This is an item regarding BC Transit annual operating agreements. So Eddie, are you? Yep, there you are. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Adam, for that presentation. Thoroughly enjoyable. So I'm here to introduce a report regarding the execution of the 2025-26 annual operating agreement between BC Transit and the ACRD for both the Alberni Valley Custom and the West Coast Conventional Transit System. We're seeking approval for 2 agreements this year. As I mentioned, the 25-26 AOA, or Annual Operating Agreement, and then an amendment to the 2024-25 agreement, capturing the expansion to the Custom Transit Service for January, and then the 1 month of the West Coast Transit Service for March 25. These agreements reflect updated ridership protections, service levels, and operating costs. Notably, this is the first full year of operations for the West Coast Transit Service under BC Transit. And then we have the full year of expanded custom transit services in the Alberni Valley in the updated AOA. The financial implications are outlined in the report with detailed breakdowns of revenues, total costs, and the ACRD's share for both systems. These numbers were included in the creation of the 2025 financial plan, so there aren't any changes from what was put forth in the budget at the outset of this year. Staff time required to execute these agreements is minimal. And we are recommending that the board approve both agreements and authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to execute them on behalf of the ACRD. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Does anyone have any comments or questions? Would anyone like to move any motions? I think they have to be separate as well, the ones in the agenda. You can't do them all in one go. But it does say and, so I wasn't sure. We could probably do them together. Director Haggard, please go ahead.
I'd like to make the motions if I could. I'd like to move that the Alberni Quickwalk Regional District Board of Directors approve execution of the 2025 to 2026 annual operating agreement between BC Transit and the Alberni Quickwalk Regional District for the Alberni Valley Custom and West Coast Conventional Transit Systems, and authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to execute the agreement on behalf of the ACRD. So is it going to be 2 separate motions then?
There's an and there, so I think we should be able to do both.
And that the Alberni Quickwalk Regional District Board of Directors approve execution of the 2025 Annual Operating Agreement Amendment 1 between BC Transit and the Alberni Quickwalk Regional District for the Alberni Valley Custom Transit System, which also incorporates the initial agreement for the West Coast Conventional Transit System and authorize the Chief Administrative Officer to execute the agreement on behalf of the ACRA.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Siga. Any further comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Well, it looks like we didn't actually need you to stick around, but thank you for sticking around just in case. And I'd like to thank you for your presentation once more. Despite my remote community, I do see the value in transit, especially the types of transit that are being offered under custom transit. I'm totally going to start Googling paratransit now just to read more into it. But yeah, safe journey home and thank you for coming. Alrighty, so we will reset back to 8A. 8A being a request for decision regarding the acceptance of the SOFI, the Statement of Financial Information. I believe it's required by the province. Gary, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. It is our final reporting requirement for 2024. It does include our financial statements as well as the statement of suppliers and employees over 75 and directors. So this meeting was advertised and this information will be uploaded to the province here before the end of the month. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. Dr. Roth, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious to know, how many hours per week do employees work? What's your work week?
35 for inside workers, and then we have a few outside workers that are on a 40-hour work week.
Okay, thank you. I'll make the motion too, that the Board of Directors approve the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District 2024 Statement of Financial Information, including all statements and schedules.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Johnson. Any further comments or questions? I see none. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Oh, your hand is still up, Doctor. Or did you want to talk again? No? Okay. All right, so that brings us to item 8B, which is a request for a decision regarding bylaw F1170-1. Shane, please go ahead. Yes, you are there.
Good afternoon. This proposed budget amendment is for the Beaver Creek Water System Capital Fund and specifically for the Kitsuxis Road Water Main Replacement Project. This is a proposed budget increase of $80,000, which was brought to the Beaver Creek Water Advisory Committee, with the budget amendment being recommended there. The increase is due to unforeseen Ministry of Transportation requirements, as well as the inability to complete trenchless installations, paired with additional rock that was not found when test drilling was completed prior to construction. This proposed increase does not create the need for any additional tax requisition, and we're happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions? Go ahead, Director Sparrow.
Thank you. So is this project now complete?
Through the chair, this project is still ongoing. I would defer to Eddie Kunderman if he's still online for an exact estimated completion date.
Oh, no, I actually think it.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
The question I have is because I drove that road today, and if it's complete, it's not complete. You should go up there and look at, there's a lot more to do on the condition of the road. It needs a lot more paver in certain areas, especially around the track area. So I'll just let you know. It's not complete if it says it's complete. Other than that, the equipment's gone.
It might mean the actual, just the amendment to the financial plan is complete. Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Dr. Roth, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually read a complaint online just a few minutes ago that said there's a really deep trench across the road. Just so you know, right by the train tracks. But anyways, I'll make the motions if you'd like. And do I need to make them separately or?
Yeah, I think you do have to do these ones separate.
Okay, I'll read the first one and then just do it otherwise.
Yep.
Okay, I move that the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors give first reading to the bylaw cited as bylaw F1170-1, 2025 to 2029 Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Financial Plan Amendment.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Coops. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Please continue.
I move second reading.
We have a second. Thank you, Director Sparrow. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried.
I move third reading.
All right, thank you. Any seconded by Dr. Sparrow? Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
I move to adopt.
Great. Seconded by Dr. Coots. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
And finally, I move that the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors authorize the CAO to negotiate and execute the associated Lower Kitsuxis water main contract change orders on behalf of the ACRD.
Thank you. And seconded by Dr. Coots. Thanks. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, and I will skip C and go to item D. This is regard to the Tishaw First Nation ACRD Landfill Working Group MOU. Jenny, please go ahead.
Thank you. So the working group, which has been in place for about 3 years now, has been working very collaboratively with the Shuswap First Nation to address the issues and concerns of the community. And we have a 5-year LOL that has, or LOO, that has about 2 years left in it. So it will expire in 2027. And we've made some really good progress as a working group and have listed out a number of initiatives that we're hoping to work on. And we think it's very timely to work on more of a formal MOU to deal with the end of the tenure, which will expire in 2 years. So we brought a report to the ABB committee back in February, and we discussed that. The committee supported us working forward on the 2025 initiatives, which we've actually made great progress on. And then the other item, which was the MOU, is that the committee wanted us to double check to make sure that there was support from the Shuswap Nation to move forward with that. So we brought it back to the working group and discussed that, and staff recommended that we actually bring it forward as a request from the board to Chief and Council to follow proper process. So this request to the board is to support sending a letter, which is drafted and attached to Chief and Council to request that we work together collaboratively on an MOU to come up with a path forward for the tenure. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Would anyone like to move the motion? Dr. Coots, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that the ACRD Board of Directors send a letter to the Shuswap First Nation, TFN, requesting that development of a memorandum of understanding, parentheses MOU, regarding the landfill crown tenure.
Thank you. Do a seconder? Thank you, Director Haggard. Any further comments? I like the way we're doing this. It's a good order, good sequence. Okay, any further comments? All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Alrighty, so that brings us into planning matters. So those of you from First Nation or municipalities, don't leave, but we need you for quorum. But if you need to go grab a coffee, please go ahead. So with that in mind, 9.1A is a development variance permit. Please go ahead, Alex.
Thank you very much. Yes, the first file is a development variance permit application for a property at Salmon Beach. The variance relates to a proposed 160 square foot accessory storage building that would be sited 3 meters from the front lot line and 1.2 meters from the south side lot line. The intended setting would allow for increased space between the shed and the existing water and sewer infrastructure that are located on the smaller lot. The variance also includes an increase to the building height from 12 feet to 15 feet. The Long Beach Advisory Planning Commission considered this application at their meeting on Monday, the 23rd this week. The APC members in attendance did recommend that the application proceed to the public input stage with a focus on the consideration of the potential impact on the increase in the building height. At this time, staff do recommend that the board proceed with the neighbor notification process to gather additional input from the neighbors on the setback and height variances prior to the board making a final decision. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for that. Dr. Siga, you want to take it?
Thank you. Yeah, I would like to Move that the Alberta Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors consider development variance permit number DVC 25003, subject to the neighboring properties being notified as per the Local Government Act, Section 499.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Sparrow. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item B, please continue. Alex?
Thank you very much. This is an application for a property in the Sprout Lake area, 9898 Lakeshore Road. The applicants intend to build an accessory structure with a 24-foot building height sited 10 feet from the western side property line. The structure would have a garage on the main floor and an accessory dwelling unit on the second story. The variance application would reduce the required side yard setback from 27 feet to 10 feet to allow for the accessory building at the proposed building height. The board had resolved to proceed with the public input process at their May 28th meeting, and that process has now been completed with no correspondence received. And staff recommended the board issue the development variance. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Director Lecourcier?
I'll move that the Alberta Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors issue development variance permit DVD 24015.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Roth. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Alex, please continue with item C.
Thank you very much. This is a request for the board to accept parkland dedication as part of a 5-lot subdivision in the Taylor Arm Drive area of Sprout Lake. The applicants are subdividing a 3.4 hectare portion of this larger property into a 5-lot parallel strata subdivision and intend to dedicate a total of 0.44 hectares or about 1.1 acres across 2 parcels in order to provide a public walkway and access down to the lake and a parking area along the road. Now, the Local Government Act allows the regional district to require up to 5% of the land being subdivided to be dedicated as parkland, where more than 3 new lots are being created. In this case, the applicants have gone over and above that and have proposed to provide the equivalent of about 15% of this land area as park. If the remainder of the larger development property is subdivided in the future, additional parkland requirements will be required under the Act. The Sprout Lake APC and the Sprout Lake Parks Commission reviewed this application back in December of 2022, where they supported the parkland dedication as it was presented. Since that time, the developer has been working on finalizing the subdivision, and there has been significant work and on-site development over that approval process with the Ministry of Transportation, and that includes, you'll see in the pictures, road and driveway accesses being constructed, hydro utilities going into place, and the sewage disposal utilities as well. Majority of this work has now been completed, and they are proceeding with both the parkland dedication and the parcel frontage waivers as part of the final approval stage. So staff recommend that the board pass the resolution to accept the parkland dedication as presented, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Okay, Director Lecourcier?
I'll move that the Alberta Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors accept the parkland dedication as presented on proposed subdivision plan EPP 130344 to meet the requirements of section 510 of the Local Government Act for the 5-lot strata subdivision.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Roth. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. All right, item D, let's continue. Sprout Lake.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is a parcel frontage waiver application that relates to the same subdivision proposal at 11196 Taylor Arm Drive. The applicants intend to subdivide, as I mentioned, the 3.4 hectare property into the 5 lots. 5 lots range in size from about 0.38 to 0.46 of a hectare in lot area. And due to the layout of these lots, they do not meet the 10% road frontage requirements of the Act, and a frontage waiver is required by the regional district. The proposed lots do meet the lot width and lot area requirements of the zoning bylaw, and staff recommend, again, as a final part of the subdivision approval process, that the parcel frontage waivers be issued. And again, happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Director Lecourcier.
Move that the Alberta Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors waive the 10% road frontage requirement as per section 512 of the Local Government Act for the proposed strata lots 1 through 5 as shown on the proposed Bearland Strata Plan EPS 8098.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Roth. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? And motion carried. Alrighty, that brings us to item E. Please continue.
Thank you. So staying in the Sprout Lake area, this is a temporary use permit application for the short-term vacation rental of a house located at 10407 Marina Vista Drive. The two-bedroom house will be utilized as an STR during the summer months, and the property owners do reside in the community and would act as caretakers. During the winter months, the house is rented to longer-term staff housing, and that will be coming to an end at the end of this month, and they intend to rent as on a shorter basis over the summer. As part of the application review process, the building inspector has completed a final review of the house and issued an occupancy permit in May of this year. Sprout Lake Advisory Planning Commission considered this application at their June 16th meeting, where they passed a motion to support the application as a temporary use and subject to the neighbor notification process. Staff recommendation is to proceed with that public input process and to gather input on the QP and that the board consider any input prior to making a decision on the set of future meeting.
Okay, thank you for that, Director LaCourtier.
I move that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board Directors consider issuing TUP 25001 subject to neighbor notification as per Local Government Act section 494.
Thank you. Seconded by Director Roth. Thank you for that. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? And motion carried. Thank you. All right, so that brings us to item F. We'll wait for Director Sparrow to exit. All righty, please go ahead.
Thank you very much. This is another temporary use permit for a short-term rental. This one of a three-bedroom house located at 4585 Compton Road in the Beaver Creek area. The public notification process for this application has been completed already and no correspondence has been received. The building inspector also completed the health and life safety inspection of the property and found that the proposed STR use appears to be safe for occupancy. And at this time, staff recommend that the board proceed with issuing TUP 25005. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that. Director Roth?
Yeah, thank you. I move that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors issue temporary use permit TUP 25005.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director LaCourtier. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Okay. And thank you, Terry. Yeah, we have item G, which is a bunch of zoning amendment bylaws for Beaver Creek. Alex, please go ahead.
Thank you. This is a rezoning application for a property at 6317 Walker Road in Beaver Creek area. Applicants intend to rezone the 1.9 hectare property to RA2, which would allow for a 3-lot subdivision with a 0.4 hectare minimum lot size. The board first considered this application at the May 14th meeting, where the board resolved to proceed with the public input process. That step has now been completed and there has been no correspondence received. The applicants have also provided confirmation from a wastewater professional who's assessed the site and has confirmed that it can accommodate on-site sewage disposal as part of the future subdivision. And I will highlight that the agency referral requests that have been sent out have all come back positively and recommended approval of the rezone. So at this stage, staff recommend that the board proceed with 3 readings of bylaw P 1525.
Okay, great. Thank you. Dr. Roth, did you want to take this?
Yeah. I'll move that bylaw P1525 Regional District of Alberni Clayoquot Regional District zoning amendment bylaw be read a first time.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director LaCourtier. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried.
I move a second time.
Thank you. Director LaCourtier seconds. Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried.
And I move a third time.
Seconded by Director LaCourciere. Thank you. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Alrighty. That brings us to item H, and we'll just wait for Director Haggard to leave the room. She doesn't vote, but it's probably a good practice that she does because she did last time. So it's good. Alrighty, Alex, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair Chen. This is a development variance application for a property at 6614 Andrews Lane in the Cherry Creek area. The variances would address encroachments to the watercourse setback and the side yard setback for an existing accessory building that was built without a building permit. The variance would reduce the watercourse setback from 30 meters to 11.7 meters and to allow for an increase in the permitted building height from 4.6 meters to 6.7 meters as constructed. The property owners have also applied for a development permit and have provided a report from a professional biologist that details the riparian area restoration plan that they would need to do, maintenance of an existing oil water separator at the site and a reorganization of the site to limit any potential future impact on Placer Creek. The development permit would be issued in conjunction with the variance if this application proceeds to allow for that restoration work to take place, which would all be confirmed as part of the building permit process that would follow. The Cherry Creek APC considered this application on June 17th, where the APC passed a motion to support the variance application subject to those requirements for the development permit and for the neighbor notification process. At this time, the staff recommendation is that the board proceed with the public input process as the first step in the application, and that the board gather input as part of their decision making at a future meeting. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Dr. Sparrow?
Thank you for that. I'll make the motion on this then, right? That the Alberni Quaker Regional District Board of Directors consider issuing development variance permit DFVF 25001, subject to 1, issuance of a development permit to satisfy the guidelines of the BPA 1, Riparian Protection and Cherry Creek OTP, and 2, neighboring properties be notified as per local government act 495.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director LaCourciere. And comments, Dr. Boyko, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So we built a building without a building permit and we put it too close to a creek. So we're trying to address it. This sounds awfully similar to what we just went through in Banfield. I don't know if the record Beckett's online here, but it comes down to, do people do things right the first time or do they do things wrong and then ask for forgiveness? And we're in that situation again here. So we just have to realize that we're setting precedents every time we're talking about things like this, and people can just accept the fact that, oh, I'll just get a development variance in the future and do what I need to do. So I'm sure we'll have a lively discussion after we have the public comments about this. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay. Okay, so that is the end of the planning section of the agenda. That brings us to item 10, reports. So with reports, that brings us to 10.1, staff reports. So would anyone like to pull anything out or move to receive the reports? Dr. Roth, go ahead.
I'll move to receive that the Board of Directors receive the staff reports A through E.
Great, thank you. Seconded by Director Coots. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much. Okay, we don't have any committee reports, but that brings us to member reports under item 10.3. 10.3A is 911 Corporation. Dr. Beckett.
Mr. Chair, our next meeting is this Friday.
All right, thank you. Next is Vancouver Island Regional Library. Dr. Boyko. we'll come back to him. Next up is Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce. Director Minions, she's not here. Oh, Director Blicko, we'll come back. Let's go back to Vancouver Island Regional Library. Please go ahead.
Let's do that first, and I'll do the next one too. Vancouver Island Regional Library update, June 7th, we had a board meeting. We talked about the financial statements that were presented, as well as the statement of financial information. Happy to say that the unfunded liabilities are now getting funded up and should be healthier in the next year or two. The Masset branch up in Haida Gwaii, it's almost completed. Grand opening September 12th to 14th. And they're looking into, in the future, having a book/boatmobile to get books around to people where getting to a library is not always easy to get to. And I want to thank the director of the library, Ben Hyman, for his hard work over the past 4 years. He's going to the Vancouver Public Library in July, next week. So thank you very much.
Good to see those things addressed. And next item is Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce. Please go ahead.
I have nothing to report, and I'd like to make sure that everyone knows that when we have people selected to the boards, that they pick the proper alternate, because the last meeting, the main person picked a different alternate rather than what the board had selected for the alternate for the Chamber of Commerce. So I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll make note of that and then act accordingly. Next up is Air Quality Council for Port Alberni, Dr. Sparrow.
There's no report this time.
Okay, thank you. AVICC, Director Cote is not here. Renee, did she leave anything by?
No, there's no report.
All right, thank you. Next up is Sawakin Public Advisory Group, Dr. Sparrow.
Thank you for that. They had a meeting a few days ago, went over a bunch of stuff. Detailed indicator and results things done every year. So right now they're doing road building and conventional logging and TFL 44. The heli logging has been postponed due to fire season because they're fire stuff right now. They went through all the indicators and they're doing quite well as we move over towards the endorsement of forest certification from now. In part of the report, the annual allowable cut, they're down to about 45%, 50% we're doing right now. And the amount of direct and indirect jobs they have is also down. They're just under 200. So I think it's a strong indicator of where we are right now, forest industry around the province. And it's not in a good state, but hopefully they can get back soon because they really wants to log and go, but it's just no market right now. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sparrow. In terms of other reports, maybe I'll supplement what you just said. I was part of a panel at the Indigenous Resource Opportunities Conference last week in Nanaimo, and that's heavily attended by forestry folks. So the effect on, despite what the AAC may be, the amount that's actually being harvested is lower than that. And that's problematic because our mills, pulp mills and sawmills, they require fiber in order to keep going. And so addressing that issue was one of the primary considerations around having questions for Minister Parmar, the Minister of Forests. And so that was something that was discussed. I think it was important that we underline the mutual demonstration of confidence in one another between Indigenous communities, local communities, and the businesses themselves, so that government has the confidence to make the right decisions to allow for the right things to happen. And when I mean government, I mean province. So whether or not we see action and activity, I think depends on the next few months. But I remain cautiously optimistic that we'll be able to get to a point where we're approaching that kind of goal of 45 million in BC, AAC, because it's much lower than that right now. We'll see where we end up, but I think everyone in the valley is kind of singing the same song right now. I think that's a good show of strength. So I'm glad for that. We'll see if it produces results with the province. That's kind of where it ends up. But yeah, thank you for the report. Okay, would anyone like to move to receive the member reports? Thank you, Dr. Roth, seconded by Dr. Sparrow. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Okay, so we don't have any unfinished business, but we do have a piece of late business. I'm hoping that it was sent up by email, but Director LaCourciere had sent forward a motion regarding Alberni Valley Custom Transit, but it also could be something that has to do with other types of things in regards to apportionment and potentially leaving services. So I thought it might warrant its own discussion on the agenda, if that's okay. Is it all right if I read out the motion, Director LaCourciere? Okay. So it says that the Alberni Clayoquot Regional District Board of Directors directs staff to investigate alternative apportionment methods for the Alberni Valley Custom Transit System, as well as the steps involved in withdrawing from a service, and bring a report back to the Alberni Valley and Banfield Services Committee for further discussion. So I think there may be, and Tafina's not here, but they were interested in some of this conversation as well. So I think that maybe we can do this, but we should come back to that conversation in a wider format, because I'm pretty sure Tafina will want to have this conversation around planning as well. I completely forgot that Dr. Steer wasn't here, so I guess we could have done it right after, but here we are. Sorry. Any further comments or questions? Dr. LaCourciere, did you have anything you wanted to say?
I'll just give a brief recap. Penny and I were talking about this. We looked at the numbers. If we have the numbers correctly, the cost to the Sprout Lake area was about 51,000 for last year, and there was maybe 28 rides. So we're looking at the numbers, looking at the cost. If my information is correct, then it's really odd, because then each ride would cost about $1,800, which is really unreasonable. So that's the reason why we're looking at all this. It'd be good to have. We're not saying there's anything wrong with it. I think it's really good to have it. But then you got to look at all your costs and say, is there alternative issues or alternative ways of doing this to help our people? So that's why this whole issue came up. So any further discussions, anything on it, I would sure appreciate.
Okay, I'm pretty sure we could have that conversation, but I think the motion would enable that conversation. So would you like to move the motion?
Yes, I'd like to move the motion that you've already read. Is it okay, or do you want me to read it?
Yeah,
again?
you don't have to read it out
Okay,
again.
thank you. Thank you. So I'd like to move that motion.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Roth. Any comments? Director Haggard and then Daniel.
This is a really deep conversation, and we were having issues such as with the new proposed new aquatics facility on apportionment as well. I think it would be a better idea, instead of the board having a discussion, if we actually brought in a facilitator to help us have that discussion. I think staff has taken us as far as they can. There's other options out there that we can look at that we might be able to use in these different areas that would be better for the folks who live in different areas. So that's my suggestion. And that suggestion actually came from Daniel. It's not my idea.
Okay, thank you. Daniel?
That's exactly what I was going to say. I think we're at a point where we don't want to be pushing back some of the existing projects that our finance department's working on, and it would be really useful just to bring somebody in to help do a deeper dive and have those conversations around how else we can vary apportionment. And it does spread across all services. At the end of the day, at some point in time, one of the areas, one of our communities is going to want to re-explore apportionment. And I think it's just useful for us to have a healthy discussion around how that can occur. So it's eyes wide open prior to getting into a scenario of, well, I want to withdraw. And we can provide a high level report on what it, if and how you can withdraw from certain services. I think it'd be very useful for the board to know, because in some instances, it's either not likely that you can just pull out of a service, or there's a lengthy process. And so it's probably just a bit easier for us to produce that report and then bring in a facilitator to talk about apportionment that we can apply on different fronts. So thank you for bringing it up, Director Haggard. I'm repeating, I guess, what you've said.
So could Director LaCoursier's motion still exists concurrent to that idea, though? It can be an and rather than an or.
Yes, if the board is okay with that approach, then leave the motion as is. I'm just articulating how we're going to action it. There'd be one report talking about exit of services, if and how, and there would be a separate session on apportionment that we would bring in a facilitator to guide us through.
Yeah, and that was my concern, that Tofino will definitely want to have that conversation as well. So we might as well have them together because it's pretty close. If that's acceptable.
Well, that's very acceptable.
All right, thank you. Director Sparrow, go ahead.
Are we talking just about transit in this context right here? Because isn't transit, can't we go by kilometers traveled as opposed to apportionment or less?
That'll be a
Because-
part of the conversation.
Because that would be the way of defining how it goes, right? Even though Cold Lake is more kilometer travel per trip, probably cheaper in the long run because of less trips, right? So that would be an apportionment model that would work for transit alone, just say it's kilometer.
Yeah, I think we would use examples from transit, but also for planning, which doesn't really have a user-based kind of approach to it. And then if we're going to talk about the pool or anything else like that, then talking about user-based apportionment is not something we've necessarily had a conversation around, but that was, as far as I know, that was the compromise that Nanoose Bay agreed to in the RDN. And it really seems like Sprout Lake and Nanoose Bay have a lot in common, a lot of fewer owners, but way higher value properties, and they're often very self-sufficient as well. So I just feel like I should talk to Bob as a result too. He's the director there. But those conversations I think we can have. I just want to make sure everybody knows that we will cover these processes. I wouldn't mind maybe having a committee of the whole about it eventually, but maybe not right away. I just want to make sure that we do report to the AV and B Services Committee. I actually think maybe the electoral area directors will probably want to talk to it too, but we'll figure that out once we get to that point, just because I think a lot of that conversation exists there too. So maybe let's just take this motion as a commitment to have the conversation, because it also includes the West Coast. We'll eventually wind up at a committee of the whole to talk about it generally. But I think 2/3 of the issues at the very least are AV related. So having it live there for now makes sense to me, if that's okay with the rest of the board. Okay, it seems like we're okay. All those in favor of the motion? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. I am not a counselor for Tofino, so I'm just trying to think of Tom's not here. So, okay. Thank you. Motion carries. And we'll have more conversation later. And thank you for bringing that forward, Director Coursier. Do we have any question period comments or questions? Because we do not have anybody in the gallery.
No questions received through email and none.
Alrighty, thank you very much. That brings us to adjournment. Anyone like to move to adjourn? Thank you, Director Boyko, seconded by Director Roth. No comments, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried.
Y'all have a wonderful afternoon.
Yeah, thank you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.